everybody. How's it going? Well, that's good. I'm Charlie O'Connor, and this is PHLY Flyers. And today we have a special treat for you. The voice of the Philadelphia Flyers, NBC Sports Philadelphia's Jim Jackson. Jim, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Always great to talk Flyers hockey with you, Charlie. Usually it's in the winter, but
usually up in the perch watching.
That's right.
Watching practice or whatever, or morning skate. Although I guess we'll find out how Rick Tocchet does the morning skates. We don't yet know what his schedule is.
Or not?
Exactly. Will they be in Voorhees? Will they be at the Wells Fargo Center? Yeah. I don't know. He did seem very excited about the 3 sheets of ice.
He did.
Voorhees.
He absolutely did.
So perhaps he will do that just to make a point to his previous employers of how important it is to have an actual practice facility.
We'll be there though, wherever they are.
Wherever they are, we will be there. So going to get into some Flyers talk, obviously, with Jim Jackson talking about the offseason and just where the Flyers stand overall. But before we get into that, just have some overall housekeeping. To start, we're at 46 likes already. Hit that like button. Trying to break 200 as usual, even in the dog days of summer. And while it's not quite as hot today, it's still pretty hot.
It's going to cool off in a big way in about 2 hours.
Yes. Yeah. We're apparently going to get hit with big storms, right?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you get back home before that happens. But hit that like button. Let's crack the 200 mark, at least, if not more. Also, just want to remind you the events we have coming up. First, on Monday, we have our Q&A night at the PHLY studio right here in Center City, Philadelphia. Monday, August 4th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Me and Bill Matz. Bill will be back from his vacation, from his 1-week sojourn to the hallowed grounds of ALLCITY. He will
went a long way, huh?
He really, really went far. He will return, and we will be able to answer your questions about the Flyers, really about anything, primarily about hockey. My guess is you probably want to talk hockey in August if you're so much of a diehard that you're watching the show and you subscribe. So why not come here, hang out with us? It is for PHLY diehards only, though. There is a small fee, mostly to make sure we have a handle on how many people we can actually fit into the studio. It's not the largest. Our offices are not huge. And also, the vast majority of that money is going to charity as well. But if you are not yet a PHLY diehard, it's the perfect time to become a diehard and make yourself an option to go to next Monday's Q&A, because we are running a limited time $36 for the year training camp special in honor of your defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, who started camp just a few days ago. So follow that great coverage we have at the PHLY Eagles Show and on allphly.com. But I believe we're coming up on the end of the sale. I think it ends either today or at the end of the week. So you're running out of time to get that cheap PHLY diehard membership. And now,
it's not cheap, it's inexpensive.
Inexpensive. Okay, fair. Fair. Man of the people, Jim Jackson.
You don't want to call yourself cheap, Charlie.
Okay. Fair. So Jim, before we get into the Flyers, just got to ask you, how's your summer been? You enjoying it?
Awesome. Yeah, I've been golfing a lot, not getting any better, but a little bit. I've made slight improvements.
I feel like you're someone who probably is selling yourself short from a quality of golf perspective.
No, not really. I golfed with Coates last week. Ask him. Steve Coates, it wasn't pretty, but I've gotten a little better. But having fun. My son is taking the game up, so we get to golf a lot, which is great. Going on a cruise in a little over a week, so that's like my last basic time away. We'll get back from that. It'll be right into prep and stuff for the season. So, but it's been a good summer. Absolutely.
A question for you about, because I know you go on trips outside the country, not every year, but enough. Do you get recognized in other countries too?
Actually, I have not been outside of North America, obviously.
Okay.
But I've been outside in other, except for the hockey trip.
Except for the hockey trip.
To Switzerland and Prague. I was recognized because there were a lot of Flyer fans.
Obviously.
So I will tell you, we're going to Greece and Italy. So I will tell you, I don't think I'll be recognized a whole lot in Greece and Italy. That would be my guess. It's not big hockey country. Italy's got some hockey, but not a lot over there.
If you are, let me know, because I would guess it would be Flyers fans. Fans also abroad, or maybe expats who used to live in the States and now are living over there. It's funny. I actually I did a diehard mailbag article today, and the final question from one of our diehards in our Discord was, if you could pick one place in the world to go to, where would it be? And I said, out of the places I've been to, Barcelona is my favorite city I've been to. Nice. But out of the places I haven't been to, I really want to go to Greece. history and beaches. It's kind of my ideal. So you'll have to tell me how that trip goes.
I will. I mean, we're going to see Santorini, Athens, Olympus, a whole bunch. So my wife is, her family's from Italy, so she's looking forward to that end of it. So we'll see Rome and Florence, Naples, Sicily. So it's going to be a great trip. But then it's right back into work. But it's not going to be like we were walking down the street outside here and I just said something to you and the guy said, "Hey, I know that voice." I know it's not going to be like that on the trip. That's
Probably
for sure.
Probably
I don't think
not.
I'll be recognized.
Okay, well, we'll see. I think there's a chance you might get one person.
All right.
One person who's also on vacation
I will
who
text you
recognizes
as soon as it happens.
the great Jim Jackson. Yes, yes. Okay, so got past the pleasantries. Now let's get into the hockey talk. And I want to just ask your general view of what the Flyers did this offseason, because my general evaluation of what they did is that Danny Briere more or less told us exactly what he was going to do, starting in April when he had his exit interviews, but also in the interviews he did in the lead up to the busy part of the offseason. And then he pretty much just checked every box. So it was hard for me to have much criticism of what he did when he was open and honest with exactly what he was going to do, and everything seemed to pretty much fit their overarching plan. But I'm curious what your reaction was to the way this, month and a half of active offseason played out for the Flyers.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say it was checking boxes. That's basically what he did. I mean, and he's really been doing that since he took over, to be honest with you. I mean, they had some things happen, Carter Hart, some things that happened that obviously they had to adjust to. But for the most part, they said what they were going to do in terms of gathering assets. First of all, subtracting. They did that, gathering assets and looking to the future. And they're continuing to do that. Now, this offseason, he said he was going to take it to another step and start adding, not big time. Right. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, I think Dvorak's a nice addition to the forward group. Only a 1 year deal. Everyone's worried about the term or the amount, the salary. It's a 1 year deal. It's not. I think that's exactly what they had to do. Made some additions on depth defensively as far as those kind of moves. And then the Trevor Zegras move, which is the kind of move they're going to have to make. You watched the Washington Capitals last year. They took risks on 3 or 4 players, and some of them hit, and they had a really good year. If the rebuild's going to happen, yes, you have to have high draft picks, in which they've had some. But you also have to, A, hit on some lower draft picks. We're hoping Alex Mump turns into one of those.
Sure.
And B, you have to find players through free agency and trades. And, Charlie, the way it's happening now, the landscape's kind of changing. Teams are securing their players now, and there's not as many players out there as unrestricted free agents. So you're going to have to probably take some chances on players through trades like they did with Trevor Zegras. And so I think that was another box checked right there. And the goaltending, which was the biggest box for me. I personally felt 2 years ago they're absolutely in the playoffs if the goaltending holds up down the stretch. Last year, I don't know if they would have made the playoffs, but they certainly would have been more in contention if they had gotten better than .873, depending on who you like. It's .873 save percentage according to one, .879, I think, if you don't count empty.
I think it's empty netters, yeah.
Either way, it's below .880 either way.
It's not good.
It's not good enough.
Either one is not good.
So, they needed to do something there, and Vladar was their choice. Now, I will say, going into the offseason, I was kind of thinking maybe somebody higher profile, but it didn't really fit with what Danny was saying to do that. And they still want to give Sam Ersson that shot.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do it with hopefully better support. Obviously, although Fedotov did have some good games, he also had some bad games, and Kolosov, was here and there. They need to have a little more consistency there. So we'll see. And Vladar is still young enough that he could take a step and become a 1 as well. So they check the boxes, Charlie, to answer your question. Some people might not agree with the way they check the boxes. I personally like what they did. I know I said this to you 2 years ago. I think they could make the playoffs. They should have. Last year, I thought they could make the playoffs at the start of the year again. And again, they may very well have if they had gotten even 900 goaltending. The two things we've talked about, Charlie, ad nauseum, the power play and the goaltending. And I think there's a real chance that both improve this year, the power play because of the direction of it. And obviously Michkov and Zegras added to that. And then the goaltending for what I already talked about. So if they can improve in those two areas, not to be the top of the league, but even to respectable, I think they make the playoffs.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the Zegras trade. And I think the Zegras trade is fascinating, not just because Zegras is a fascinating player, and we'll talk about him in a little bit more depth, later in the show. But what's fascinating to me about the Zegras trade is that there was legitimate skepticism, I think understandable skepticism, about how the Flyers using the way that they're trying to build this team. We're not bottoming out. We're not tanking. Briere's made that very clear. The easiest way, the most efficient way to get top end talent is to draft at the top of the draft in multiple years. And they made it clear they're not going to do that. They don't believe in that philosophy. They believe that it risks the entire culture falling apart, and then you get stuck in a rut where you can't pull yourself out of it. So they're not going to do that. Maybe a couple years they'll draft high-ish, and maybe they'll win a lottery, but most likely they're not going to be picking first, second, third overall for 3-4 straight years to get the guys like that.
Let me say on that point, there's a large segment, as you're aware, more aware than I am, because you are obviously involved in the social media more than I am, but of fandom, Flyers fandom, that wants them to do that or wanted them to do that. And there are as many examples of that not working as there are those that worked.
Sure.
Everyone points to Pittsburgh, but I mean, they got 3 world-class. It just doesn't happen that often that you get 3 in a row.
You have to really look out.
There's more Edmonton's before McDavid when they had 3 first overalls and then didn't get better. They got McDavid when they were actually over the tanking and still haven't won a cup, but obviously improve themselves. Yeah. But then there's the Buffaloes. Chicago's right now looking quite dicey. I mean, how do you do this rebuild thing? There's different ways to do it. The one way that everyone seems to feel is a sure shot is to tank and get the first overall and get your generational player. We don't know who the generational players are all the time. But McDavid turned out to be that. Crosby turned out to be that. But there have been others. Bedard might not be a generational player.
Right now, it's looking like Celebrini might be better than Bedard.
Yeah, so we don't really know. There's uncertainty to even the top of the draft. I just think the 3 qualities you need are, yes, some high draft picks, and they're getting those with Michkov and Martone and really the Nesbitt. Perhaps he's not quite that level, but if you're talking top 10 picks, they've gotten a couple, 2 or 3 of those. Also, you have to, as I said, hit on some lower picks. We're starting to see like Noah Cates and possibly Bump and some players like that, and then the acquisitions and Zegras is that. That's, I think, the way you have to do it. And as we're seeing more and more of the higher picks sometimes not pan out to be all that they were expected to be, but also more of these teams securing players once they see them panning out, you might have to do these Zegras trades. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I guess, would be the guy from Washington that comes to mind. These kind of deals where the guys have some possible warts or whatever you want to say, aren't coming off their best year, but it's in there. The potential is there, and you have to hope that you are able to do that. That and development. They have to really develop because they have a slew of prospects now, especially after this last draft. And if they develop over their last 2 or 3 drafts, some of these players, that rebuild can take place without a first overall or a second overall.
Yeah, and you saw it with Florida in that, they go out. Obviously, they trade a first-round pick for Sam Reinhart, but if Buffalo knew what Sam Reinhart was going to become in Florida, they would have asked for a heck of a lot more than just one first-round pick. They get Sam Bennett, who kind of was disappointing in Calgary, and then he becomes Sam Bennett in Florida. I think and this is what I was getting at initially, was some of the skepticism from the sections of the fan base that you were talking about. It was like, okay, if you're not going to tank, then you have to make trades where you're getting guys with that high-end upside. And until the Zegras trade, we hadn't yet seen if Briere could do that. Like, we know that Bill Zito can do it because he's done it. So you can trust that he can potentially continue to make trades like that.
For sure.
Danny had not shown that he could do it. And in the Zegras trade, I don't know if Trevor Zegras is going to become a star in Philadelphia. I don't know if he's even going to work in Philadelphia, but I know that he was a swing on a guy who could be. 3 years ago, he was looking like a guy who could have been face of the league. Maybe he'll never get to that point, but the upside is there. The potential is there. And with that trade, Briere showed, number one, that he can make a deal like that he can close on a deal like that. But number two, he also showed that he's not going to have to, pay an exorbitant fee to get those guys, that he's not going to have to give up a top 10 pick to get a guy like that he can wait out another team and get him for, Ryan Poehling's a good player, but he's a good bottom 6 center and a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick. We're not talking about a massive cost here. I think more than anything else for me, regardless of whether Zegras works out or not, it increases my confidence in Briere's ability to execute the plan that he's trying to execute.
Yeah, I agree with that. And his very first trade wasn't to get a player of that ilk, obviously, but the Provorov trade showed he can be creative with deals. We know that. We also know, I think now, over 2 years in, that he's sticking to his plan, which we've seen before, where the plan is here and then it kind of moves a little bit. It has not moved at all. I was watching you, I believe it was Monday's show, or maybe it was Tuesday's show, lose track of the days in the summer, where you were talking about, I don't know how you could say that this team isn't following the plan. They are clearly following the plan. Now, you might not like it, or you might not like some of the ways they're following the plan, but they are absolutely following the plan. And they've had, as I said, some unexpected setbacks, which, I mean, when you lose one of your top prospects due to, in my opinion, no fault of your own, that hurts. They did the best they could with the trade.
Sure.
And when you lose your starting goaltender, through outside circumstances, that's going to set you back too. So they've had to bounce back from some of that stuff, and they've been able to do it. So I think he's done a really good job so far. But until you see the results on the ice, you're going to have people upset. So I'm hoping this year that health is good, the goaltending is better, the power play improves a little, and that they make the playoffs. Some people are going to say, "Oh, don't make the playoffs, get into the sweepstakes for McKenna." But I'm like, I think we're beyond that now. First of all, the Islanders are proof you don't really have to finish that close to the bottom to get the first overall. And the lottery has just not treated the Flyers real well. And when they got a good pick, they
didn't work out anyway.
So I mean, I just think that's a very shaky way to build it. They're doing it the right way. The Flyers are doing it the right way, and one of the right ways. There's different ways to skin the cat, but one of the ways. I guess you can't use that phrase anymore.
That's fine.
It's an one of those old phrases that people don't like anymore. But there's different ways to accomplish the goal, and the Flyers' way is what they said it would be, and they've stuck to it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get into to more specific things, but first we need to take our first commercial break.
I've waited for this to.
So we're going to start out with our friends at Empire Today. And just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Look, we've all been to those big box stores. You wander the aisles, then you're somehow hauling all these materials home. You're looking for an installer. You're doing everything yourself. They may have a flooring department, those big box stores, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and then stocking light bulbs the day after. Empire Today is different because they live, eat, sleep, and breathe flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners also can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. Yes, you heard right. A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. And now we're going to talk to you a little bit about Pico.
Charlie, I walked into my garage yesterday and it was a sauna in there.
Yeah, this Philly heat, especially now, it's no joke.
This humidity is here. So what I ended up doing, I got like 20 bags of ice. I went into my backyard, filled a baby pool with them. Nice little inflatable I have back there. Did a little cold plunge.
Why didn't you just turn on your air conditioner?
I'm trying to be energy efficient. I hear the cold plunges are good for you. You seem like a cold plunge kind of guy. And I'm trying to save a little bit of cash as well.
Okay, well, instead of filling up a baby pool, and I don't believe you have any children, William, but instead of filling up a baby pool that you don't yet need, you could just check out Pico's energy saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut your bills.
So no more ice?
It's the summer. Flyers aren't playing. They've already melted all the ice in the rink.
Yeah, that seems like what's up. I'm going to have to check this out. It seems like the way to go, Charlie. Thank you.
So just head to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything: heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. And we are back. Hopefully you enjoyed that brief drop-in from Bill.
You switched chairs really quickly.
Very quickly. It's the teleportation device that we have. We teleport Bill in from Sea Isle and then send him right back there in seconds and then do an immediate musical chairs switch just as the camera switches back to us. So, yeah, we got
technology.
That. We got that patented. It's our own proprietary technology.
Well
Exactly. So getting back to the Flyers discussion, this was something I wanted to talk to you about because it was an interesting question that came up in our DieHard mailbag, and it was about the feel around the Flyers organization. And the question was, I know there was a really interesting question, was given the new regime, you have now Danny Briere and Keith Jones, obviously you also have Dan Hilferty at the top of the food chain at Comcast Spectacor. Is the Philadelphia Flyers organization now a better place to work overall? Is the culture, because it seems like they do value not just on-ice locker room culture, but also organizational culture. Is the culture better than it was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? Now, obviously, you're not a team employee in the classic sense, but you're around a lot. NBC Sports Philly is obviously linked with the Flyers, and you guys are the official broadcast. So I'm curious, from your perspective, are the vibes better? Are people, in your perspective, just seeming like just happier to be at work? Is everybody more unified? Everybody more on the same page than they were, in past regimes in past years?
Well, I don't want to portray people as unhappy in the previous regime. I wouldn't say that was the case. I would say that perhaps the communication to the fans was not as good as it needed to be, or at least it changed all the time.
Right.
Right now, with Dan Hilferty leading the way, Dan is as involved with the fan base as anybody. You see him at the skate zone. He literally goes down and shakes everybody's hands. I mean, he's unbelievable with the way that he interacts with the fans. So that is an unbelievable upgrade. Now, how does that change the people who work in the organization? I'm not sure, but I'm assuming he's pretty hands-on there as well. And my dealings with him, he has always been top notch. Just one of the top. I had David Montgomery, Ed Snyder. These are the two people I always talk about. Dan Hilferty's right there with those two as to how he handles his business. Jonesy, I mean, everybody loves Jonesy. He is direct. He definitely gives you the answers to your questions. I've seen him do this show. I've seen him do many, many shows. And he gives you the answers. He is about keeping the information that needs to be kept within the organization, but he also is accessible and obviously does a lot of radio shows and podcasts. And I think he gets the Flyer name out there, and he has so many contacts through his days as a player and as a broadcaster that he's well known by so many sectors of the city. So that's great. And I'm assuming he's great to work with. If you can put up with some of his bad jokes, he's
Fair.
great to work with.
Fair.
And then Danny, I mean, one of my favorite people that I covered when he was a player, hasn't changed in terms of how he deals with people. Just top notch, polite, professional. So I would assume, again, I don't work there on a daily basis. I technically work for NBC, although I do work for the Flyers as well. But I'm not in the office every day. So I don't know what the atmosphere is like technically there. But from what I hear from people, it is improved. Not that it was terrible before. It's just they're three good people. So you would think it's a good situation.
Yeah, you just got the sense that, not when they came back, but when Dan Hilferty took over and then you brought in, Danny was already there, but he becomes the GM. Jonesy becomes president. It seemed like one of their focuses was, trying to bring back that feeling of like a family atmosphere. Obviously that was the way it was under Ed Snyder, which was unique because Ed Snyder was a unique person. He was the one who brought hockey to Philadelphia. He knew everybody. It was his organization at its core. And then, maybe by no fault of anybody in particular, that kind of got lost a little bit. It just seems like they're trying their best to bring that back. And it starts at the top with Dan Hilferty, trying to be more communicative with fans. And from what I've heard, trying to be more communicative with organizational employees as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. He talks about collaboration all the time. So it's not just that, it's everybody. But part of collaboration is everyone being involved, and he likes that, and he involves people. And so there's no question that's been improved. I mean, the perception of what was going on probably was overblown. Dave Scott was not as involved as Dan Hilferty, for sure. But I'm not going to sit here and bury Dave Scott either. He was always very nice to me. It's just that Dan Hilferty is very much hands-on. He's involved in so many sports-related things already, obviously. And then Jonesy and Danny are both ex-players, which sometimes is used against the Flyers in some sense. But both of those guys also played and have been part of a lot of other organizations too, as has Rick Tocchet. So it's not like some old-time Flyers people. These guys have seen the league. The thing about Jonesy is, as a national broadcaster, not as my partner, but as a national broadcaster, he got to meet and know and make inroads with all people. And I say players, I don't mean necessarily players. I mean players in the league, right. GMs, owners, things like that. So he is so tied in that way. So him getting that job had much more to do, I think, with that than it did the fact that he was a former Flyer player or even a former Flyer broadcaster. And Danny, he went after he retired and went to the lowest levels and learned about the business. It wasn't like he was handed this job as soon as he retired as a player. So for those two, the old ex-Flyer thing doesn't hold at all. And for Rick Tocchet, I mean, he's been with a lot of different teams, and if the Flyers didn't sign him as the coach, 2 other teams at least, maybe 3 others, were going to sign him. He's not the coach of the Flyers because he's an ex-Flyer. Now, is it helpful that he knows this market? Absolutely. Is it helpful that there are still some fans from those days when he was a player that might gravitate back? For sure. But that's not the reason they hired him. They hired him because he was the best coach they thought for this position that was out there. Several other teams thought the same. So I think they got a good choice there. And he fits right in with that collaboration we're talking about.
Yes, definitely. And speaking to that, the answer I gave in my mailbag was everyone I've talked to, my read of the organization is that it's definitely a more unified place, and everybody seems to be very happy under Dan Hilferty. The only exception was the head coach, John Tortorella. And I don't say this even to criticize John Tortorella. Tortorella's view of his job as head coach was the whole diamonds are forged under pressure. He thought that there needed to be tension. There needed to be conflict to get the most out of guys. And again, that's not even a critique. That's what he believed. That's the way he coached. He wanted guys to be frustrated and then turn to their teammates. And then everybody maybe sometimes is against him, but they're closer together because he's the villain. That was his role. Yeah. But that was the only exception where, yes, it was a good place to work, but it's hard working for John Tortorella. Now the Flyers have Rick Tocchet. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that Rick Tocchet is an easygoing coach who's going to make it easy on these guys. No. But it does seem like he's not going to be quite as tough on them as John Tortorella, just because John Tortorella is uniquely tough as a coach, especially in today's day and age.
He is. And John Tortorella is, he wants to win. Every coach wants to win, but you can see it on the bench. You can see by his reactions on the bench. This guy, I mean, losing eats away at him. And I think 3 years in, or almost 3 years in, the losing was starting to get to him a little bit. So, he wanted to maybe push this along a little bit faster than perhaps it was going. That might have been the problem. But it was really good to have John Tortorella here to start this because they did that subtraction phase with him. They did install the standard, as he says it, culture, as many of us say it, atmosphere, whatever you want to call it, within the locker room and around the staff and the team. His imprint is on that right now. And so Toc can take advantage of that. But Toc is, I think, a little more communicative than Torts. Like, Torts' door was always open. But if you were a player like maybe a Morgan Frost or a Sean Couturier, who isn't necessarily off the ice, like really outgoing, you might not go into that room even if the door is open. And I thought with some players like that, sometimes things kind of were left to fester a bit. Players like Travis Konecny will go right in and say, this is baloney.
Yes,
that was fine and that worked well.
Yeah.
But for those others, maybe it didn't. I think for those players, Toc will be maybe more of a guy who will reach out to them as opposed to saying, my door's open. If you need to talk to me, come in.
Right.
But no mistake about this. Torts did put an imprint on this organization in a positive way in the standard that he did develop here. I don't know if he was going to take it to the next level because I do think the losing, not making the playoffs 3 straight years for him was tough. And, I just think you started to see that toward the middle part of the 3rd year and then obviously what happened at the end. So, but he got it started. I think Toc's the guy that can really pick it up and run with it. And no, he's not a soft touch. You just watch the play. He's not a soft touch, but he will communicate. And that, I think, will help some of the players in the team who need to have someone reach out to them as opposed to going in by themselves.
And speaking to Rick Tocchet, the one thing that I found fascinating about the lead up to, and I tried to communicate this on the show as best I could, the lead up to the hire, because it became abundantly clear via a lot of people that if Rick Tocchet wanted the job, it was probably going to be his job, and it wasn't exactly a well-kept secret that they really liked Rick Tocchet, and they wanted him to be the coach if he wanted to be the coach and if he could get out of Vancouver. But what I tried to communicate on the show is that, while a lot of fans, would look at his track record, and yes, he won Coach of the Year, but it's not like we're talking about a guy who's won cups or gone on a bunch of long playoff runs. They looked at his track record and are like, I don't understand why he is, such a top tier choice in terms of the way the hockey world views him. But then I would say when you talk to people in the game, it's almost universal that everybody thinks extremely highly of Rick Tocchet, the person, but also Rick Tocchet, the coach. How well do you know him as a person? And can you speak to why there is that degree of confidence from people who know him better than fans who don't know him at all, aside from just watching him on the ice as a player?
I do consider him a friend, so I'm not completely unbiased here. But I'll say, and he's a broadcast partner of mine. He did one playoff game as my analyst when Jonesy had to do NBC, I believe it was, and then Bill Clement, who was the usual backup, had a speaking engagement that had been set up well in advance. So it was a playoff game.
Could he have made a career out of being a
He could have. It was his first time ever doing it. It was kind of interesting to watch a guy like Rick Tocchet be a little bit nervous, uneasy before. But man, once the game got going, he was great. He did a great job. And I also worked with him pre and post during the playoffs, a couple of years there. But and I've known him for a while, and I think the reason he's so highly thought of is because he is direct, he's open, he's honest, and ultimately and eventually that is going to score you points with your players. It's going to score your points with the management. He also, as an assistant coach, built up a lot of cachet. He was a very good assistant coach. And then when you're looking at his numbers and his results, you have to take into account the situations he was in. Really, Vancouver was the first time he was coaching a team that had a lot of talent, that had a chance to make
that was trying to win.
And in the first year there, they did. Now it broke down last year with all kinds of things going on there. But in Phoenix, he did a great job making that team competitive. At Tampa, I mean, he didn't have that. That was not the Tampa we know now. So he hasn't had great teams to work with, but he's elevated the teams he's had. Now, a fair question will be, what can he do to take a team to that next level? He hasn't done it yet. So that is a fair question. But I think he will absolutely answer that. And I think hopefully he gets the chance to answer it right here as this team continues to bring in pieces.
And as someone who knows him, you said you count him as a friend, you know him well off the ice. Is there a specific player or players that you think might benefit the most from his unique style and way of communicating?
That's an interesting question. I haven't thought of this one. I mean, as I'm thinking of it right now, I do think Sean Couturier is going to.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
I just think that's going to really help because Sean Couturier, John Tortorella was the first coach, and Coots has had several here, that didn't absolutely rave about Coots. And it caught Coots off guard, I'm sure. It caught me. I caught all of us off guard.
When you're the teacher's pet in every grade, and then, like, you get to 7th grade and suddenly the teacher hates you.
Yeah. It was startling. So I think Tocchet's going to, he knows his game already, and he's going to like his game. And I think Coots is going to like the communication aspect we talked about earlier. I also think Michkov, it'll be very interesting to watch the dynamic there because Tocchet's not unlike any other coach. Like if Meach is leaving the zone early when he shouldn't, he's going to hear about it from Tocchet. Now, he might not be benched for a period right away, but if he keeps hearing about it from Tocchet and still keeps doing it, he might get benched. I mean, so that interaction will bear watching. I mean, I think Michkov wants to win, so I think he's going to try to find that happy medium. I mean, Connor McDavid leaves the zone all the time. I mean, certain players, you want to leave the zone. They're going to create offense for you. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic. I think there could be an edge to his creativity that could take off a little bit under Tocchet. Not to say Torts was suppressing it, because I again, this goes back to what I was talking about with instilling that standard in the culture. I think it was good for Michkov to have Torts, and Danny said this many times, early on in his career, because that was hard. That was tough love. And he got, I think, his eyes open a little bit. And hopefully he takes that with him in a positive way moving forward with other coaches. Other players, I mean, all coaches are going to love Noah Cates and Tyson Forster just for the way they play their all-around games. But I think Tocchet, people will say, well, what about Pettersson up in Vancouver? The high-end talent guys, I think, are still going to like him too. That was Pettersson thing became a player versus player thing. It was obviously pretty ugly up there.
Yeah.
I don't think it had as much to do with Tocchet. And you look at Quinn Hughes, who just loves Tocchet. Maybe Jamie Drysdale or some of the offensive defensemen really like him too. So
I know he raved about Travis Sanheim. He coached him a little bit at the Four Nations, and he said,
mutual love right there.
Yeah, yeah. And he basically said, I think it was in one of the interviews he did after taking the job, that, I want to see what we can turn Travis Sanheim into. He's maybe a little on the older side, but he seems like he kind of fell in love with that skill set at Four Nations, and he wants to see if he can bring even more out of him.
Yeah, and we've seen that early in seasons, especially from Travis, where he looks one. He looks like a one. I haven't seen it maybe over a full season. It's tough over a full season, but I think that's an interesting question you ask. I don't know if there's a type of player that Tocchet necessarily will gravitate to. Again, I think one of his strengths is that he adjusts to players, and players that need a kick in the butt, he'll kick in the butt. Players that need a pat on the back, he'll pat on the back.
Okay, we're going to get into a little bit more, but we do have to take our second and final commercial break. So I'm going to tell you about our friends at Ace Hardware. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they remember what to bring because they bring experience. They're local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding. They listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And as always, they bring helpful to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. Service you can trust and satisfaction guaranteed. And also, Ace Hardware Home Services are local. Their teams live and serve in your community and are dedicated to keeping their neighbors comfortable in their home. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Now I want to tell you about our friends at Cherry Hill Jeep. If you are looking for a Jeep or Ram truck, there's only one dealership in South Jersey who has been the market leader since 1967. Our friends at cherryhilljeep.com have you covered on the best selection, but more importantly, the best prices. Right now, take advantage of the True Zero offer. $0 down payment, $0 first month payment, and $0 security deposit now through July 31st, which is today. So you better rush out there and buy yourself a Jeep or Ram truck because it's literally
This just became a pressure sell right here.
Exactly. Slide into a 2025 Jeep Wrangler this month for $289 a month. Every Wrangler delivers strong drivetrains, innovative engineering, and quality components that underpin this icon's legendary heritage. Or pull away in the most luxurious and functional SUV, the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, also included in that True Zero offer, which expires at end of day today. So you still got time. Stop in today, tell them PHLY sent you, and receive an additional $1,000 for your trade-in. I know people buy Jeeps and Ram trucks elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep or Ram truck today. Just minutes from all bridges, or available online 24/7 at cherryhilljeep.com.
Well done.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick up the slack.
It's now or never with that.
Exactly. Yeah, serious urgency here. I worked in marketing a time ago.
Did you?
I know how this works. Yeah, before I was a writer.
I did not know that.
I was a salesperson and then an account manager at a digital marketing agency in Center City.
Yeah, that figures.
Yeah, so staying in the digital world just changed the direction of my career.
Well, we're glad you changed. Not that you weren't a good digital. What?
I was okay.
Digital management.
Yeah, I was like account manager.
Yeah,
I basically dealt with clients.
We're glad you changed.
Yeah,
because you do a great job.
I'm glad I changed too.
You do a great job hosting, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Not
JJ.
that,
There's a lot coming from you.
I'm not going to call Bill Wally Pip quite yet, but I mean, but you do a good job. Yeah.
I don't think Bill has to worry about that one. I do not want Bill's job long term. So we were talking a few minutes ago about Rick Tocchet and his fit with players. And this is when I want to get into the conversation about Trevor Zegras, because you mentioned about Elias Pettersson and about how, while some of that certainly was the conflict between him and JT Miller, it also did seem like Tocchet, there were things about Pettersson's game that he didn't like. He didn't like, the perimeter side of his game. He didn't like, maybe the skill over everything else, at the expense of the harder aspects of the game. That is, for a lot of people, the knock on Trevor Zegras. So when you look at that potential partnership, do you worry at all that that might not be the best fit, or do you have confidence that Tocchet will find a way to make it work as best he can?
I do think both Michkov and Zegras this holds for. You can't be quote unquote soft and play and be in Rick Tocchet's good world. You have to. And I don't mean you have to go out there and drop the gloves or go out there and bang people around. Those two are not going to do that. And you could watch Michkov play. He's not soft in any way. Now, Zegras,
he goes to the dirty areas.
Yes,
Michkov does, definitely.
Zegras last year actually made tremendous strides in his overall game at the expense of his offensive numbers, some people think. Greg Cronin was really on him.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible he will see Tocchet almost like some of the Flyers players see Tocchet. It's kind of a relief from as tough as Torts seemed to be on some of them, as some of them might have thought that he was, because Cronin was, I think, even more old school than Torts. So in talking with Zegras, have you had a chance to talk with him much?
Yeah, we talked with him. We did an interview over Zoom, and then we met with him for a while at the draft.
I mean, he's
not at the draft, in Atlantic City.
Yeah, he's really stoked. I mean, this is genuine. This guy is ready to go. I do think he's understanding that his game has to be more well-rounded than it was as a rookie or his second year. And, there's going to have to be some give and take on both sides. I mean, Tocchet's going to and I think Tocchet understands this. This super skilled guys, they're going to get a little leeway here and there, but not too much. There's a happy medium there, and we all have to find it as the season rolls along.
Yeah, and I think the part of it, because I'm a little concerned, because I want to see the Zegras thing work. That said, if Zegras doesn't work, it's not like we can just be like, well, it's Rick Tocchet's fault. Zegras is going to have to take some accountability for the fact that something didn't work. He has to take some accountability for the fact that it didn't work in Anaheim. And if it doesn't work in Philly, it's not going to be all on Tocchet. But I do want to see it work. The thing that does give me some confidence that it can is I see the strong relationships that Tocchet has built with other star level players.
Yes.
Now, Zegras isn't there yet, but look, like Quinn Hughes, okay, Quinn Hughes is Quinn Hughes. But then I look at like a Phil Kessel. And when I think of Phil Kessel, I don't think of a guy who is particularly defensively oriented.
No.
He really didn't care even one iota about defense. And from everything I've heard, Tocchet didn't only have a good relationship with Phil Kessel. He was viewed as like the Phil Kessel whisperer, that he was the guy who could get the most out of Phil Kessel. And my thing is like, well, if he can make it work with Phil Kessel, I think he should be able to make it work with almost anybody, as long as there's some give on the part of the player.
I mean, Phil is a pretty perimeter player, so but I mean, a super skilled one. So yeah, that's a better example than Quinn Hughes for sure. And if he could do it with Phil, he could do it with Zegras and Michkov. I mean, he's the other thing is that people talk about being dump and chase. And I had a conversation with that's exactly what he didn't want this team to be next year. So you have to sometimes do it, but he said we need to have the puck. We need to have the puck. So it's all with a new coach, even if it's a guy who's been with other teams. This is new to him in terms of these players. Obviously not the market, but these players are new to Tocchet, and obviously he's new to them. Is there anyone on this team that's played for Tocchet?
Well, Dvorak now.
Dvorak, yeah. And boy,
and Noah Juleson if he makes the team.
And Dvorak had his best, his best years,
all around years. Yeah.
So, I mean, none of the guys that were here, I was trying to think of that had played for Tocchet. So it's new for them, and so it's going to be that training camp's going to be fascinating into the early season.
So moving to Michkov, because we talked a little bit about him. Obviously, everybody is very excited about the upside of Matvei Michkov. Calling basically all the Flyers games this year, watching from above. What jumped out at you the most about his game?
This is easy. So we sit, as you know, you sit with us in most buildings way up high. The game looks pretty easy up there, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot slower than it is if you sit down ice level.
Very true.
So all along throughout my career, we see things. It's like, why didn't he make that backdoor pass? I'll say to Jonesy or to Bush or whoever my partner is not on the air, like during the break, you go, you might see it up here. They're not seeing it down there. Michkov and maybe Claude Giroux, but I would say Michkov maybe even more so. The only Flyer players in my over 3 decades here now, who I would say, and Peter Forsberg, it was only brief, unfortunately, would be thrown in there too, who actually see the game, I think, on the ice as we see it upstairs. And in Michkov's case, he might be the first one. There was 5 or 6 times last year where he made passes, and I'm like, I didn't even see that. We didn't see that up here. How does he see that down there? That is what jumped out at me the most. There are many other things, his competitiveness, I can go on, but his vision of the ice, his ability to make plays in his mind before it's happening, which is the sign. Well, Gretzky, that was one of his best traits. Gretzky was not big. He was not fast. What made him was his creativity. And that's Michkov. He is so, I'm not saying he's Wayne Gretzky. I'm just saying his creativity is off the charts good, to the point where he does things that Bush and I are looking at each other like, where did he see that? How did he see that? And we're miles up where we can see all the players, you know? He just has tremendous vision. But he was so competitive, sometimes to his detriment. But I mean, he'll go in there and he'll start. One of these days, somebody's gonna, rail off and hit him. But I mean, I love that about him, that spunk.
I think that's what they loved about him too.
Yeah, and as the year went along, I was able to have conversations with him. His English was getting much better. I don't think. I mean, they obviously they're still using the Slavic. I think they're probably going to continue to. But I mean, I would bump into him and have conversations with him. He understands pretty much everything. Yeah. But one time he gets on the elevator with me, and it's just the two of us. He gets on, and I can't remember who we were playing. It was late in the season, and he said 4. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm going, you want to go to the 4th floor? He goes, no, 4 points. And the Flyers were way more than 4 points out. I'm trying to think, what is this? He was 4 points behind Celebrini. He says, I'm going to get 4 points tonight and tie Celebrini. And he said all that. Those were his words. And so he's really aware of all of that stuff. To me, it doesn't make him selfish. It makes him a very driven player.
Yeah, I agree.
Who's very aware of what's going on. And his English is getting better. And I wouldn't say anything around him you wouldn't want to say to, because he understands, I think, pretty much everything. So I really look forward, Charlie, to seeing that develop as his English gets better. He will, that personality, we're going to see it more and more. He's very funny. He tried with you guys sometimes too. The interpreter kind of loses it.
Yeah, a little bit.
But he did have the one great line. He's got scratched in Florida and Tampa, and he goes, being scratched, having a time off in Tampa. And
not the worst place to be scratched. It's not like it's Winnipeg.
There's a lot of humor like that in Beach. And as he learns the language and gets the language down more, we're going to see more of that. He's going to be a fun player, not just what he does on the ice, which is obviously very fun to begin with, but his personality is really out there. So that's good. And so I to answer your question, I mean, I think he takes another step this year. I think it's possible that the reins are off a little bit. That might help him a little bit. The key to me, really, not to go back to another topic we talk about all the time, but he probably wins. He wasn't even one of the top 3 rookies in the ballot. He probably wins the Calder if the Flyers power play was halfway.
I knew exactly where you were going with this.
Because he should be a dynamic power play performer. Yeah. His skill set, his ability to go to the dirty areas, you could use him to run the power play through him, either behind the net. I don't like that as much, but maybe off the sidewall. Yeah. I just think that his numbers could really improve there on the power play. So if you go by numbers, I think there could be a jump. There is always the risk of the sophomore jinx or whatever. Sure. The league will adjust to him some. He's going to have to, and they already did as that year, his rookie year was going along. But
then he finished strong.
He did.
So,
yeah, he did. Well, he had, and I think the biggest thing, we've talked about this, he's talked about this, is his conditioning. Back-to-back games he seemed to struggle a little bit in, late in shifts sometimes. Yeah. If he's right now, as we talk here in the summer, getting himself in, really great. I'm not saying he was out of shape, but he'd never played a full NHL season. Now he's done it. He knows what it's like, the grind that it is. If he's able to get that part of it going, that's going to help his game in a big way as well.
I am very excited to see what we're gonna get out of Matvei Michkov in year 2, and then obviously beyond. I suspect we'll only get better. I was told that we have a lot of super chats today, so we're gonna switch over to the super chats and see what the.
We need one more like, I think, for 200.
Jim Jackson, I love that. I love that you're keeping an eye on
that. 199. We
Get,
can't sit it.
More. There we go. We're at 200. We are now up to 200.
Thanks, Bernie. That's my wife. She probably.
Wonderful. Okay, so first super chat from Wolfman. Beautiful. Jimmy, you did a cameo for our Beer League Award ceremony a few years back and really laid into us. We reference it weekly. Thanks for all you do.
I've done a lot of those cameos, but I do remember that one. I did. They told me, give it to us, so I did. I
love it.
Some of their guys really struggled, and I told them.
Sometimes you need some tough love, some Tortorella tough love.
I would never give tough love, and this was asked for. It was asked for, so hopefully I did what they wanted. But yes, I don't remember Wolfman in that group, but maybe it was.
Yeah, I mean these are people with their handles. I don't think that's a name that's not on the back of his jersey.
Not his team name, no.
All right, next up we have the OGJH. Love you, JJ. We're so lucky to have you here. So excited to hear you talk about McDavid as a Flyer next season. 335 days till Connor comes home.
Days counted.
He's been counting down every single day that he goes unsigned by the Oilers.
Hey, never say never until he signs. But I've not heard. It seems as though the conversation is going to Kaprizov now that it might not get done in Minnesota. I find that hard to believe. But you also have Kyle Connor out there. Obviously, you have Eichel out there still. Any of those players would look good in orange and black.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if any of them make it to unrestricted free agency next July 1st. If McDavid does, most people think he's going to find his way back closer to home, right?
Yeah, I mean, every team in the league will try to take a run at McDavid. And then it just comes down to where he would want to go. And I don't know, maybe he really enjoyed being on that charter flight with the Flyers brass on the way back from Florida.
They can be charmers. They can be charmers. Now, let me say this about McDavid. I mean, as free agency was happening this year, I was seeing a lot of contracts that I thought were exorbitant. And I was like, that's good. The more of those, the less money's going to be around for one of these big players, maybe, or for somebody you might want to offer sheet next year. So the Flyers didn't, if they did spend money, it was a 1-year deal. They're going to be in good shape cap-wise moving ahead. So they'll have the money. It's just a matter of whether they can convince a McDavid or a Kaprizov or a Cotter or an Eichel that this is close to being a competitive team now. That's why I think it's important this team makes the playoffs next year, or at least is right there in the room.
Yeah, and shows the rest of the league and the players around the rest of the league that this is a destination again, that this is an exciting team on the rise.
Off the ice, I mean, the fans don't understand this, but you do talking to players. The Flyers treat their players better than, or at least as well. I don't want to say better, but as well as any team in the league, because it's just, everything's top notch. The hotels, the travel, the facility, just how they take care of you. And that has not changed. That is from Ed Snyder. And that is carried on through the years, through all the different machinations of the ownership and Comcast and all that. They've treated the players really well here, and that is known throughout the league. So
3 sheets of ice.
Now they have 3 sheets of ice.
3 sheets of ice.
Yeah, 3 sheets of ice. You got everything.
You got everything. Exactly. All right, next up, we have a casual Warzone guy, 1776. Sure. Best guest of all.
Casual Warzone guy.
Sure. Love Jim. Jim deserves more NHL recognition, needs more playoff calls, make Flyers great again. Jim, you did some playoff games this year.
Yeah, last 4 years, TNT's been nice enough to give me playoff games. It's awesome, mainly because the playoff atmosphere in the NHL is just top-notch. 3 years ago now, I got to do the Florida-Boston series when Boston's coming off the best series in the history of the league. Florida sneaks in because Pittsburgh loses to Chicago, basically, is why they got in. And we did games 3 and 4 and 6. So we did games 3 and 4 in Florida, both won by Boston. So they leave Florida up 3-1. I go down. I remember going down to the bench area to Jim Montgomery, old pal, and say, Jim, good luck the rest of the way. Go get the cup. They're up 3-1. It looks like it's over.
Yeah.
Come back. They lose that game with a breakaway at the end. Bob makes the save. They win in overtime. It's 3-2. They come back for game 6. And I go to Jimmy. He goes, don't come near me. the night out, Florida won that game, and it was a back and forth classic hockey game. The rest of that series was just classic. And I remember sitting during the third period, Jody Shelley and I were in the booth together, and I just looked at him and I took a deep breath and I kind of took it in because that with the place was going bonkers. It was goal back and forth. There were fights. Allmark was losing his mind. It was just a great playoff atmosphere. I just took it in and said, I want to remember this, and I'm glad I did that. And that's what playoff hockey, those moments, what they give you. And TNT's been nice enough. So I got some games with them. I got some games this year. I did Carolina, New Jersey, and it's been fun. It's been fun. But I got to do Flyer playoffs.
It's been too long.
5 years.
And also, you did do the playoff series that they had in the bubble, but it was different.
Yeah, I was at the Wells Fargo Center.
Exactly.
In a separate booth from Jonesy and Bill.
Yeah. So you did call those playoff games, but it wasn't the same as hearing a crowd going crazy.
No, we haven't had a home playoff game here since 18, right?
Yeah, since 18.
And so it won't be the Wells Fargo Center anymore.
Not anymore.
Xfinity Mobile Arena. Hopefully we can get some playoff games this year. I mean, I don't think the rebuild is a disaster or is over if we don't.
Right.
It depends on why they don't make the playoffs, but I do. The fans deserve it. I think it would help with what we were just talking about. If you're attracting free agents, if you're in the playoffs, you're considered in the mix.
Sure. So
I think that would help. So yeah, there'd be a lot of benefits to making the playoffs. Is it be all end all? No, but I think it's time, and they don't want to set that club record either, right? That's 5 is the longest. This is the longest they've ever been, tying that record leading into the Lindros
early 90s.
Yeah. So don't want to break that record.
Yeah, that's not a good record to have.
No,
never want to have
that.
That's
the Sabres, but that.
Yeah, fair point. All right, next up,
Jets are keeping up with them. Jets and Sabres, 14 straight out of the playoffs.
Oh, geez, what a miserable existence that would be.
Yeah, you talk to those Jets fans. This is the year that ends.
Every year is the year. All right, we got David Shub. Jim, out of all the division rivalries, I assume this is all the division rivalries you've ever covered with the Flyers. Which was your favorite? Do you see any new ones brewing? As Jason Martinez says, I'd love to see more sports hate.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. And by the way, good going, Jason. Yeah. It's just great to see him
seriously
making his way back. And the hate makes for good hockey was a line that I know. I'm talking about hockey hate here, folks. Don't take it literally. Tommy McVie, who passed away this year, was a coach for me. He didn't coach me, but AHL team that I covered, he was the coach. Kind of like my second dad. My dad had passed away. He came in anyhow. So he used to use that hate makes for good hockey in the big deep voice. And he's right. That's why the playoffs are so great, because there's a lot of hate out there. It's hockey hate, not literal hate. So yeah, I think Jason's got that a little more hate. And for me, Pittsburgh Flyers in its prime. I mean, right now both teams are trying to get back there.
Talking about like the 2010s.
Yeah, 2010s, and really, I mean, 2000.
Late 2000s.
8 overtime, the 5 overtime game, and we had some playoff series then, and then Crosby just stoked the rivalry. So I would still go with that. I do remember I got here in '93. Rangers was it, Rangers Flyers, Devils Flyers became quite a rivalry when they had they were good and they were getting in the Flyers way all the time. So those would be the top ones. I mean, Boston and the Flyers still there seem to be big moments there, even though they're not in the same division. So yeah, those would be the top ones, I'd say. The schedule, when it gets to 84 games, I think they're throwing 2 more back into the division, but that's only going to last until they expand.
Right.
We talked about this. One of my pet peeves. All they need to do is take one of the games away from the other division in your conference, where you right now play them 3 times. Cut that to 2, like it is with all the other teams not in your division. Throw those games back into your division, and you'd get that hate, because familiarity breeds contempt. And in hockey, there's no question. Back-to-back games, home and home, you see the hate build up. It just happens. Now, I think Gary Bettman has been afraid of that ever since that year where we played 8 games against the well, it's not going to be 8. It's not going to be 8. You're not going to play
that'd be too much.
3 straight games against the same team or anything. It's just going to be 5 or 6 instead of 3. We should never only have the Pittsburgh Penguins in Philadelphia once in a season, or the Rangers, or go to New York and play an MSG only once, at least twice, if not 3 times a year. That could be solved by just moving that one game against the other division back into your division.
Yeah.
Could be done, but and I've seen people bring it up.
Talk to Bill Dale.
Get him on the line. Doesn't seem to catch. Charlie, it just doesn't seem to catch.
I don't think you're wrong. All right, we got some more super chats coming, but before that, we're going to overtime. Conversation continues online, so head over to allphly.com to keep watching. Next question from Joe Rocket. This is a tough one. This putting you on the spot. Honest answer, JJ. Jonesy or Bush? Both are Hall of Fame and analysis. Great. Get PHLY with your guest.
All right, for quick one-line comments and a flowing conversation, Jonesy's the best.
Okay.
For impersonations, Bush is the best.
A good impersonator. You're right.
As hockey broadcast partners, there's no way. Sorry, Joe Rockhead. There's no way I'm going to differentiate between the two. I love both. I love Bill Clement. I love Steve Coates, Gary Dornhoefer. I have been blessed with the best booth partners. I've also worked with a lot of people in between the benches, Chris Terry and Taryn Hatcher. Ashlyn Sullivan does a great job with us now. Scott Hartnell is in the booth with us. I don't want to forget people, but and Rick Tocchet for one game.
Yeah, one game.
But the main people in the booth with me, Bush, Jonesy, Bill Clement, Gary Dornhoefer, Steve Coates. How could anyone be luckier than me? I mean, one's in the Hall of Fame as an announcer, Bill Clement. Gary Dornhoefer probably should be for his work with CBC in Canada before he came to Philadelphia. Keith Jones is now president of the team, was a national broadcaster. Brian Boucher is now a national broadcaster. And Coatsy wasn't a national broadcaster, but Coatsy is Coatsy.
Yeah, he's an institution.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I have just been blessed beyond anybody. So there's no way I would pick one over the other. Everybody has their strength. I mean, no one was as good a wordsmith as Bill. Gary Dornhoefer, if I'm in a bunker, if I'm in a foxhole, I want him next to me. I mean, that guy is as reliable gets. And Coatsy is as fun as anybody to be around and just has very interesting perspectives on the sport. So to go along with Jonesy and Bush, I mean, just tremendous people to work with. Hartsey, when he comes in, he always catches me with something where did you just say that? And you said that on the air. So, it's just, I've just been so lucky and happy. So sorry, Joe Rockhead, I can't pick between the two. I'd just say that I was so lucky that when Jonesy left, there was Bush.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, next up from Peel and Onions, JJ. Well, I guess this fits with the name. What is your favorite restaurant in Philly?
I'm
Peel and Onions.
This is going to probably disappoint people because I live in Jersey, so I do most of my restaurateuring over there. But when I do come over here, I'm a Del Frisco's guy.
Okay.
Now, it's kind of a boring answer because a lot of people do, but I love the atmosphere. I love the steak. I love the food. I'll give you a quick side story with Del Frisco's. Sean McDonough, who does the games now for ESPN, was a year ahead of me at Syracuse. So we're college buddies. So he came in to do a game 2 years ago that was a game against the Rangers. It was a nationally televised game, obviously. We weren't doing the game. So he said, hey, let's go out to dinner after the game. I said, great, we'll catch up. So in the days leading up to the dinner, he said, hey, do you mind if I have this guy who's an assistant coach of the Baltimore Ravens, as a buddy of mine, come to dinner with us? I said, absolutely not. But he might bring his wife. Fine, that's fine. Said, we won't talk about as many stories. Then he calls up and says, hey, do you mind if Chris Rooney, who's doing the game, the referee, he's the referee for that game, comes with us today? I said, sure, why not? Bring Chris in. Then he calls me the day of. Hey, do you mind if John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens, comes? I said, sure, why not? So we end up in the vault at Del Frisco's with like 20 people. And I'm having dinner with John Harbaugh, who's asking me questions, me and Rooney, questions about hockey. He was he'd gone to the game, and he wasn't a huge hockey fan, but he loved it. And I wanted to ask him, about Lamar. I wanted to ask him about football questions, but it was all him asking us about hockey. It was awesome. But Del Frisco's, as usual, came through in a big way. So that would be my go-to. I'm not one who has experienced enough, to be honest with you. I should come to dinner and eat more in Philadelphia. If there's any restaurants out here, let me know. But I do. I have a couple of favorites over in Jersey, and my wife and I usually go there.
Okay. All right, cool. Next up from Felix Wheatfield, your favorite moment working with Bill Clement.
Oh, my favorite? This is going to be tough. There's too many to choose from. I mean, the favorite moment was the game 7 against Boston.
Okay.
I mean, we got to call that. And I remember walking with Bill back from the morning skate to the hotel, and we're like, can they really do this? And we're like, no, they're going to lead us right up to it. And it's not going to happen, right? That's what we're thinking. No, it's going to be a tease. They're not going to do it. Because remember, it had been a long time. There was one after that 4 years later, I think, the Kings Sharks.
Yes, King Sharks. Yeah.
But there hadn't been one since the Islander in the early 70s. So this was not something this was history.
Yeah.
And it goes 3-0 Boston. And I look at Bill after the third Boston goal, and he's like, and then boom, they get the goal by JVR.
Yeah.
And then, boom, and then they win it. And we're just like, we were just part of history. This was pretty amazing. So that would probably be it. There's a lot of moments away from the game. Some I probably can't even talk about. But Bill is a great restaurateur. There's a guy. He knows his wine, and he would take us to restaurants. And I mean, it had to be just so for Bill. Bill is a guy. He wants his meal just so. And he knows his wine. Like I don't know a good wine from a bad wine. You just put the wine in front of me, I'll drink it. But it's like oh yeah, great year. Yeah, I have no clue.
And Bill
would know. Yeah, wow. Bill knows. Okay. He does the old, the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And so he was always fun to and Bill is just a great human being too.
He is really good.
But one moment it would probably be that one, Game 7, Boston.
Okay, cool. Next up from GBlaz87, love it. Dog Day of Summer for hockey. We get JJ, and then we have
a real dog in a bad way. See, dog now means good, right?
Yeah, he's got that dog.
Changes.
Got that dog.
I was trying to be self-deprecating there. I realized halfway through, I'm saying I'm good that way. It's not good. No, I'm not. Because dog used to mean bad.
Yeah. No, now it's good. Yeah. Players got that dog.
He's a dog. He's a dog. He's got that dog in him. Yeah.
Exactly. Then we got a follow-up from G-Blaz. Who is JJ's favorite prospect coming up? Don't know why he mentioned Zegras, because he's not a prospect. Favorite prospect coming. Who are you most excited to see?
Bump. After watching Bump this year in college and then at development camp, I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. Again, a lot of this happens, Charlie, and I know you study the draft. You are one of these people, although you study it. I'm not putting you in a negative category, but there are some people out there who see a couple of YouTube clips and that's how they judge their drafts, right? Bump's a 5th-round pick. The draftniks were all wrong on him if he develops into a really good player.
Yeah, even if he develops into a middle of the lineup player, you're wrong on him.
Right. I don't think there's much doubt he's going to be a middle of the lineup player. I really don't. I think he's got real potential. I said this about Tyson Forster. You and I had this conversation. I was high on Tyson Forster way back.
I was lower on him.
And I wasn't this high on Bump. I was high on Bump his first development camp. I said to Jonesy, and this was before
really good.
Jonesy was just the broadcaster, Jonesy. Then I said, I really like this Bump guy.
Popped.
And then he went to Jonesy's school. So Jonesy and then he really took off, right? But you look at development camp for players who look too good for development camp, and clearly it was his 4th one, right? Okay, I don't want to overblow this, but he was that good.
Yes,
he was that much better than just about anybody else. So he would be the guy I'm most excited about. I think he has real potential. He's got enough size to withstand the NHL pounding. I saw stuff defensively from him this year that I didn't know collegiately. He's got a great ability to lift sticks and take pucks away. Datsuk kind of thing. He's not Datsuk,
obviously.
But I mean, I see a lot of that in him. He's very creative. Yes, he likes to cut to the inside, and he's gonna get hit on some of those moves to the inside. But he'll learn. And when you talk to the people around him, he does everything he physically and mentally can do to be the best player on ice, off ice. He follows everything to a T. I'm really excited about Alex Bump.
Okay. All right. I mean,
I'm excited about Jet Luchenko too.
Yeah.
I think people, again, not picked in the top 10. So the guy with all the vowels in his name at the Athletic, Dom.
Oh, Lucian. Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce his name? I never knew. Like he only looks at, he knows his stuff. Don't get me wrong, but he looks skill. He looks skill. Luchenko has plenty of that, but hockey IQ, which is harder to measure, Luchenko is off the charts on that. Yeah. And I just think he's going to play better than what people are thinking from what they saw. I mean, the AHL experience for both Bump and Luchenko was interesting. Bump flashed in his first couple games. They both struggled. I wouldn't say struggle, but weren't as noticeable against Hershey as Hershey really focused on Bump, from what I was told.
Yeah.
And then they weren't maybe getting the playing time and crunch time that they get. They certainly were getting in college or in junior. We'll see. I'm excited about both of those guys. And this year's draft, excited about many of them, not for this year.
Sure.
I mean, Murtag looks tremendous to me for a second-round pick. And the defenseman, we didn't even get a chance to see.
Miko,
I'm really excited what I read there. Obviously, Martone. Nesbitt, I thought his development camp showed me clearly his skating is the issue. If they can get that taken care of, I think he might be better than I didn't have him anywhere near where they picked him. Now, I'm not a draft Nick. I watched clips. I'm one of those, so I don't put out a mock draft or anything like that. But everything I had seen, except for Bob McKenzie, had him going late 20s or mid 20s.
Yeah,
early 20s,
early to mid 20s, I would say.
And 12. So we'll see. I loved what I saw from him.
He was really good. Yeah. He was really impressive.
His competitive nature, his hands, everything but the skating, which he's going to have to work on. But he's so tall and so young. There aren't many athletes, even basketball players, who shoot. Their height goes up when they're 18 or 17. It takes them a little while to get used to that. You're going to need instruction, power skating, and all that. And the kid has it if you talk to him. So does Martone.
Yeah.
They both have. Martone's polished, great with the media.
Oh, yeah.
Nesbitt is first thing he said to us. My first question to him at the draft party on the air was, so people here might not be that familiar with Jack Nesbitt. Give us a scouting report. You got a good one.
That's good. That's good.
So I love that.
Love
too.
that confidence.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, David Schubb again. Biggest body check as a Flyer, best fight, best goal.
So one single check,
I guess.
Unfortunately, it was legal back then. It was Stevens on Lindros. It stunk. It's
but
not legal
one by
now.
a Flyer.
Oh, one by a Flyer would be Lindros on Luanov, Igor Luanov, defenseman for Tampa. You might you might not even been born. It was 19.
I was definitely born.
1990. That would have been 95, 96.
It was before I was a hockey fan.
Yeah.
I was definitely born.
Yeah. So it was spring of 96. What were you? 10?
Less than that.
Less than that. Anyhow, that was a brutal series between the Flyers and Tampa Bay Lightning. It was played at the old Thunderdome. It's awesome. Tampa's first ever playoff series. And Ulanov and Michel Petit were two rough defensemen for Tampa, and they were hammering Flyers all series long. But Lindros, toward the end, just destroyed Ulanov with it. He bloodied him, and it just destroyed Petit as well. And the Flyers won the series.
Yeah.
Like they poked the bear, and Lindros just. So I would go to that one for a check for
fight.
Best fight. The funniest fight was Hextall and Potvin, because Hextall afterwards said, "Yeah, I'm punching away, and I see blood on his jersey. I got him. Found out it was my blood." But any of the fights from the Ottawa Flyers game in 2004, Esch, again, two goalies, but Esch and Lalime going in that one. But the fights, particular fight, any Nick Delorier fight's pretty entertaining. He could really throw him. The one with I didn't get to call it with Repke was great. His face is all red from being punched, but there he is at the end. He's still throwing it. And that's just been so many fights. I'd have to go back to Donald Brashear had some beauties, but yeah, the one would probably be the goalie fight in which Hexie thought he won, but the blood was his. And best goal in terms of skill, I probably would go with Owen Tippett's backhander 2 years ago, a full flight backhand. Best goal, Keith Primo's goal to win the longest game in the modern history of the NHL.
Get some sleep.
Yeah. But in terms of the skill level, that goal, it had everything. It had speed, power cutting in, and then a backhand on the fly, top shelf. Claude Giroux had some unbelievably silky
falling
goals.
Down backwards goal
against Columbus, I believe,
yeah.
To tie a game late. That one's up there. The Konechny pass to Michkov last year, not the goal itself, which was great, Meach finishing the breakaway in overtime, but the pass, Konechny steals the puck as he's going toward his own net and throws it to Michkov in one motion. One of the best passes I've ever seen.
Crazy.
But the best goal, if I say best goal, right off the top, it would be Preem's goal because of its import. Ronick's goal, double overtime in Toronto 2004.
Yeah.
That was
right after Kapanen up.
But that was a breakaway. I get the feeling that David's looking for like the most spectacular skill-wise. I'd probably go Tippett.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Then we get the OG JH. I sometimes don't watch national broadcast because JJ isn't doing the call. Love that. So
no, I think don't watch it because I am doing the call.
No, I definitely don't think that's what he was saying.
There were many of them for me, so he wouldn't have missed many games.
Right.
I only do like a couple. It is fun to get to. I got to work with Jody Shelley a lot, another great broadcast partner. This year I got to work with Shane Knighty and Chris Mason. Shane Knighty does the Golden Knights games, and Mace is with Nashville. And it's kind of like what we were talking about, like with the coaches learning the players this year, Trey. You're working with guys you've never worked with before, and you're thrown into these important broadcasts. But a lot of fun, great guys. So again, blessed there too with the people I've worked with.
Absolutely. Only a few more. It looks like these are less questions and more statements from Linden49, one of our long-standing viewers and listeners. He's an old head. I just want to say thank you. By the way, is it true when the Hound was a rookie, did the boys set him up on a fake snipe hunt where he was arrested?
I do believe it is true.
Do you believe it is true?
I've heard the story from enough of them that I don't think it's a fallacy.
Okay.
Hound, I don't think. I think I asked him about it though when I wrote a book about these guys way back when.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure he fessed up to it, but
other
enough
guys.
of the guys
Okay.
did. It kind of fits with
Okay.
the way that went those back in those days. But yeah, and thanks to the Flyer fans, because I had a choice. The only time I had leverage in my entire career, I'd found out I had the Mighty Ducks job in July, and I was negotiating with them after not having a sniff of the NHL for 7 minor league seasons. I got that, and I was negotiating literally on the phone once with them when Mark Piazza from the Flyers called to tell me they were interested, and that they flew me down, interviewed me, said, "Job's yours." I literally had a choice, Anaheim or the Flyers, and I obviously chose Flyers because they had Lindros going to the second year. They were going to win a cup before the Mighty Ducks were ever going to win a cup.
Obviously.
I was wrong.
Obviously, that was going to happen.
Oops, I was wrong on that one. But I made that choice, and so happy I made that choice to work in a market that has fans as passionate as they are here. Do we and I say we because the announcers sometimes stoke it a little bit too. Do we go overboard occasionally? Maybe. But that passion that the fans have here for all their teams is so great. It's matched, if at all, by only a couple other markets in the country. And I would not want to work anywhere where there wasn't that passion. So you can thank me. Who is that? What's the name?
Linden49.
Linden49. But I thank you guys because you pump all of us up to do what we do. I'm sure it helps you too. You get interaction with them all the time. Sometimes they drive you crazy. Yeah, I understand that. Yes, social media. But the passion is what it's all about. And I love it. And I can't wait, Charlie, because it's happening. We're heading into as Daddy said, the next phase. And this is going to get good. And this place is going to explode. Orange and black, fever, the Orange Crush will be back.
I'm rooting for it. It would be great to do a show for a legitimate contender rather than just a perpetual maybe.
Yes.
That would be very
Have me on to talk prior to the playoffs this year. How's that?
Okay. All right.
I'm not guaranteeing it.
All right. You know what?
If the Flyers make the playoffs, have me on.
All right. I love it. All right. Couple more. Another one from David Shubb. Michkov punched Celebrini right in front of me. There's that competitiveness. Yes. And clearly he had in his head that I'm beating this guy.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I can see him going after Crosby or something,
That would be wild.
He's just that. He's got that edge to his game. Now, he's going to have to answer for it at some point. His teammates will answer as much as they can, but eventually you have to answer. Yeah. But I think he's quite willing to do that. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a whole other edge to his game that we saw, and we're going to see more of as he gets more acclimated to the league. And all the thumbs up as far as Michkov and where he's headed.
Totally agree. All right, DA Flyers, man. JJ, you need more national exposure. You're great. I agree.
I get just enough.
Just enough. Okay.
I mean, first of all, TNT has 4 play-by-play guys that they use all year long. So really, once we're past 2 or 3 series being done, there's no need for a 5th guy. I'm blessed again to get the chances. I get Michelle Zarzeka, Z as everyone calls her. TNT has been nice enough to give me these chances. It's fun. I love it. But I'm primarily the Flyers guy. So what I want to do is maybe the best of both worlds. Maybe I can do some Flyer playoff games and do some TNT games this year. But it's fun doing those national games. But I'll tell anybody, I tell broadcast coaching students that I work with all the time, if I had the choice, obviously there's more money in national gigs. But as far as pure enjoyment, the thrill of it, it's just broadcasting for a team. It's great. You get to follow the stories all year. You get to see the ups and downs, the triumphs, the failures. That is awesome.
Absolutely. And then last one from OGJH. I told you he wasn't against you. He said, F Anaheim, so glad you chose the best team. Told you he wasn't against you, JJ.
Well, I just wanted to clear that up because I didn't see didn't there. I saw it.
It's fair. I think that was a typo.
And there are people I'm sure out there who think that. By the way, doing national, one last story. I did national games for NBC. Flyers national game against the Lightning. It's going to Tampa too. So I had to do it down the middle. Steve Stamkos, this was when he was a young player, scores 2 goals. And I'm going crazy. Stamkos scores! And social media was just getting going then, but it was going. And I checked my Twitter, as it was then, and Flyer fans, what's wrong with JJ? Why is he getting excited on these goals? I'm saying, I have to. I'm being paid by a network to do this game.
Sure.
And that goes to why people sometimes when we aren't doing the games, the national networks come in and Kenny Albert does the game, whatever. He's not biased. He's unbiased. We're biased.
Yeah.
We're a little biased toward the Flyers, or a lot, some people would say. There's a line. I try to stay professional, but there's no question when I'm broadcasting a game, I'm broadcasting to Flyers fans. But when I'm broadcasting a national game and the Flyers happen to be in the game, I'm broadcasting to both markets, really to the entire country. So it's down the middle, so you're going to sound different. Flyer fans had a little trouble with that.
Yeah.
They didn't like it.
Flyers fans have trouble when their
broadcasters
are not hopelessly biased in their team's favor.
They didn't like it. They didn't like me getting excited on another team.
Philadelphia fans in general have a problem.
Yeah, they did not want me getting excited on a Steven Stamkos goal against the Flyers. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
But
you know what? They're going to have to deal with it. They have to deal with it if you're doing a national break.
Yeah, well, they don't usually, they don't put too many guys on their own team's game. I mean, Kenny did the Rangers radio, but he's the number one guy, so he's going to do it.
Well, yeah.
But a lot, they try to keep you out of those situations when they can, but they also trust your professionalism to handle it the way it needs to be handled and hope the fans, as you say, can deal with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, thanks so much for joining the show. Went a little long because we had a lot of people that wanted to ask you questions.
With me here, I'm not surprised it went long.
There we go.
I do know how to talk.
But in any case, that's all we have today for PHLY.
Thanks, Charlie.
Flyers. Hit that like button. We got up to 267 likes.
Right.
Great like show. It's the JJ boost. It's the opposite of the JJ
Let's take
jinx.
another half hour, get to 300 now.
Yeah. But in any case, thanks again for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be on again tomorrow, and it'll be an F Around Friday with Steve Jaco. See you tomorrow, gang.
We all silly like the mayor.